We do have a Friday night banger, though. Number 24 Illinois going to number 22 Nebraska. This is a top 25 matchup. And I got to tell you, I am excited about the matchup in several ways. I think the secondary for Illinois against Dylan Raiola, the defensive line of Nebraska against, I think, maybe a maligned offensive line for Illinois. I think the quarterback battle is fun. I think Matt Rule versus Brett Bielema is fun. Kurt, maybe before we get to scores, what are maybe a couple keys to the game in your mind for this one?
Yeah, for me, I try not to get too much into the stats this early in the season, especially when the competition is varying so much. What stuck out to me when looking at this game is just Illinois is the team between the two that has showed some inconsistency running the ball. And when a game is expected to be this tight, I favor Nebraska there being able to run the ball a little bit more consistently. And just as far as what unit I feel most comfortable in, I think Nebraska's defense is the best unit out of any of these, squads. But that being said, I do think Luke Altmaier's having a great year. The passing game is legit for Illinois. They're going to need big plays if they're going to win this one, in my opinion. I was shocked at the spread. 9.5 points I thought was very, very large. But Vegas knows their stuff. I think Illinois needs to win a similar game like they did against Kansas. Defense forces some turnovers, and they're able to capitalize that way because I think that Nebraska's run game and defense is a little bit stronger than theirs. But like I said, I like Illinois' passing game, so I think it's going to keep them right there with them.
Yeah, and to your point, I didn't say it. So this game is on Fox, 8 p.m. Eastern. The line has dropped a point since it's now Nebraska 8.5.
Okay.
So money's coming in on Illinois, which we'll see what the smart money, the sharps, what the sharps come in later in the week. It is a home game for Nebraska, so that I think
is
that
it
is
Nebraska?
something.
I thought it was at Illinois. That makes a little bit more sense that way then.
Yeah. So it's at Nebraska, and that's been an electric environment. We saw it against Colorado. It's interesting. I think Nebraska certainly has the edge, I think, defensively. And I really appreciate that point. I am curious about how these receivers for Nebraska will hold up against what has been a dynamic Illinois secondary. The Scott boys, Xavier Scott, I think might have forced the most turnovers in the Big Ten thus far. Miles Scott, not too far behind him. They've got some guys on that defense, both in the secondary, and then you've got a defensive line that I think is a little underrated. Pat Bryant, the wide receiver, I think is going to be a key for Illinois. He's probably the best receiver on both teams. I know that Nebraska's high on guys like Banks and Nair that transferred in.
Yeah.
But I think there's some interesting matchups. How do you think this game's going to play out, and what's your score?
Yeah, I think it's Illinois is going to jump out early. You mentioned the secondary for Illinois. I think Raiola makes a young mistake early just because, I know he had the Colorado game and that was built up with a lot of hype. I think Illinois is a lot better than Colorado is. So I think it is his actual true test against a defense that's got an actual, I should say a fuller defense than Colorado's is, a more complete team in Illinois. So I think Illinois jumps out early, but I do like the rushing game in Nebraska and the defense to overall get them the win. So I have 24-17 Nebraska.
Okay. We are similar on this. Okay. I agree. I think the secondary versus Raiola will force him into mistakes early. And I think it might be a lead even at the half for Illinois. But I just, JR at the Big Ten Huddle made this point, and I think it's a really valid one. I just don't see Illinois' offensive line being able to protect Altmaier. Yeah. I think Altmaier will make plays early. I think he's got better than expected mobility. I think Bryant might make some plays down the field. I just don't think they're going to be able to run the ball. And I think if they know what's coming, they're going to be able to tee off. And I I think it's going to be a rough offensive outing. I have 24-13
Okay.
Nebraska.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a turnover and a touchdown early, maybe like a 10-7 at the half, and
Sure.
then they kind of figure things out, run downhill. But yeah, I agree with you. I think Nebraska wins. And I think 24-17, 24-13 is I think that's a good range for us.